Hi, my name's Kim and this is my March wrap up slash quarterly stats for 2025. I cannot believe it's the end of March already. It feels like, well, January felt like it took forever, February went by super quick, and March just feels like it was so incredibly busy, for me at least at work, that it's kind of like, I don't know, time flies, as I say. Anyway, I thought I would run through the books that I read first, or at least the books that I read that I didn't talk about in videos, as well as obviously fill you in here on all the books I read this month. And then I would talk a little bit about quarterly stats for the first quarter of the year. So overall, I read 16 books in March, which brings me to a total 39 for this year so far. 16 is the most amount of books I've read so far this year. In a month, I read 16 this month, 14 in January, and 9 in February. So a lot of books, and majority of them were for videos. I had a very video specific plan for what I was reading this month. There's only 2 books that I read that weren't for videos, although one of them kind of was. The first one is The Gate of the Frail Gods by Matt Dinman. This is the 4th book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, and we are just continuing as Carl and Donut and all their companions go through these levels in this dungeon world. And they are trying their hardest to stay alive. I gave this one 4 stars. I do really just enjoy the series. It's definitely becoming quite a easy comfort read. It is very confusing, less confusing than the one that had all the trains, but this one was very, it sounds silly to say so plot heavy, but the first book was quite light, as in the sense that it was mostly about them leveling up and them moving through, but the plot has begun to thicken as we move through the series because there are a lot of different players. This is not just, oh, they're thrown into this dungeon world and they have to fight their way out. There is these alien conglomerates that are basically controlling the system, and they have a lot of vested interest, and these same figures keep creeping up. Carl has definitely made an enemy for himself at this point, especially at the end of the 4th book. Spoilers for April, I have just started the 5th book, and so we can see how that is starting to play into the 5th book as well. I really enjoy the series. I think if you're looking for something that is fantasy but just a bit chaotic but still has a good plot and does have some sweet moments as well, then this is a really good series to jump into. So yeah, definitely recommend it. I still think the first book is probably my favourite, but I really appreciate that the individual books since do have a lot to stand alone in this world, because especially when they're repeatedly going through the levels, you'd think that, you know, it would get repetitive, but I think they've all been distinct enough so far that we haven't really found that. Especially with this 4th book, it is quite distinct, and there's a lot of different things coming in, kind of rounding up plot points from some of the other books that have happened, to kind of get to the point where we are for this 5th book now, which is going to be quite a significant moment in terms of what happens. But yeah, you'll see that in April's review. The other book that I read was Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Gone by James Baldwin. I gave this one 4 stars as well. This I was originally going to read for my 5-star predictions vlog, but I thought that it would probably be a 4, and it was, and I didn't finish it in time for when I wanted to post the video because I wanted to post it around my birthday. So I thought I'd just leave it, finish it, and then just include it here instead. As I said in that video, we follow our main character Leo Prohammer, who is an actor, and he has had a heart attack, and so the book follows him as he is kind of drifting in and out of consciousness and then slowly beginning his recovery as he reflects on basically his entire life and the kind of key figures in his life. The first one being his brother. We kind of see a life pre his brother Caleb going to prison, and then kind of post Caleb going to prison, because Leo has a lot of growing up to do in that period, and we see how they kind of their relationship changes over the years as Leo gets more into acting and his brother finds God essentially after he gets out of prison and leaves the military and all of this different stuff. And so that is a really core relationship with the book, and I would say that's probably what the majority of the time is spent talking about. But then we also have his relationship with his friend Barbara as well, who is someone that he knows after he first starts his foray into acting, and they have a brief time where they're in a relationship together, and it's an interracial relationship, and Leo faces a lot of issues because he's a black man who is trying to make it as an actor, and so he's not respected in the way that his white counterparts are. And there's also the issue of Leo being a black man around a bunch of white people, the way that he's treated, the police, the kind of environments he's in, him trying to make money for himself, and how ultimately him and Barbara don't work out relationship wise, but they stay friends, and they are friends in the present day of the book, which is a testament to Barbara as well, and how much she does really try to be an ally, and kind of put behind her family's kind of backwards thinking, and also the thinking of everyone around them as well. And we have another relationship with his friend and partner-esque of called Christopher. That one was only really touched on a little bit, and it doesn't really play as much of a part in the story. It's a relationship that Leo has when he's a bit older, and Christopher is a little bit younger than him. I think there's maybe 9 years difference between them or something like that. And so he meets Christopher when Christopher's in his early 20s, and they have a bit of a relationship. But those moments don't go as in-depth as his moments with his brother and Barbara, or at least I don't think that they do. And I feel like at that point the ending kind of feels a bit rushed, because we kind of have all of these characters come forward in the present day to reconnect with him and support him through his recovery, and so yeah, I did enjoy it. It's my second James Baldwin book. I was a little bit lost about where to go, because Giovanni's Room is obviously kind of the book from James Baldwin, and so trying to step into the rest of the James Baldwin canon is a little bit intimidating about where do you go from there. I know that Another Country, I think it's what it's called, is a really popular one as well. The reason I picked Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Gone was just because it was easier for me to get at the time, and I think also a little bit shorter. But I am interested in picking up more James Baldwin this year, and I'm hoping to kind of make a start and move through the rest of the books by him as well. In terms of favourites, I had 4 5-stars this month, which is good because I did do a 5-star prediction vlog, but only one of them was a 5-star. So my 4 5-stars were But Not Too Bold, The West Passage, Little Fish, and A Short History of Transmisogyny. And so I really enjoyed all of these books. And now on to quarterly stats. So as I said, I read 39 books now this year, and I've done a little comparison because I have a bit of a record, because I've been keeping track on spreadsheets for the last 2 years about my reading. I've kept most of the information over the past 2 years. Some years kind of fluctuated about what I did track. So this year I've read 39 books in the first 3 months. Last year I read 42, and the year before I read 17. So you can kind of see how much I've really gotten back into reading. A small kind of number as well, but in 2020 I'd read 39 books by the end of March, which is quite ironic really, because I read so many books at the start of the year, and then after that I just stopped. Basically I read 5 other books for the whole rest of the year which was, you know, I was furloughed, but I was also too busy playing Animal Crossing, so you know, kind of makes sense. Pages read, I've read over 12,000 pages. I'm nearly at 12,500 pages, literally 9 pages short of that, which is a lot of pages, and it'll be really interesting to see at the end of the year what my total is compared to the last 2 years of reading, because I'm on track obviously to kind of be at the same number of books that I read last year. I'm not aiming for 165 again, but I'm at least aiming for 100, and so I'm already way ahead of that, so it'd be interesting to see what my comparison is. In terms of books acquired, I thought that was quite interesting, because in 2023, which is when I got really back into reading, I bought a lot of books. I did buy quite a few at the end of December to kind of prepare me, so I didn't really count those at the time towards my 2023 spending for the year. I purchased 32 books in the first quarter of 2023, 45 last year, which is ironic because I did say I was going to try and stop spending as much. However, the price difference, I won't go into it because it's a little bit embarrassing. I did actually spend last year less money on books in the first quarter than I did the year before, and that's partially because I had access to the library, which I started using towards the end of 2023, so I wasn't buying as many there. I took a lot more advantage of deals as well, and obviously like vouchers and stuff comes into that. This year in first quarter I've bought 26 books, and again my money has gone down. I spent £50 less this year in the first quarter, and again quite a few of these were free because I have a few vouchers from Christmas and also from my birthday that just passed, so I didn't pay full price on those. I also have took advantage again of deals, and I do find myself less nowadays going out to buy books. I do a lot less kind of book shopping. I definitely am still book browsing. I also found that my spending habits have changed because I pre-order a lot more books nowadays. I was meant to have a look and I haven't, but I'm really interested to see how many books I've pre-ordered, because then I'm not necessarily looking to buy them at a later point, and so I'm buying them now. I know I started to do that towards the end of last year as well, and so some of the books I've got coming up, The Library at Hellbore, Buffalo Hunter Hunter, because my pre-order got delayed from Waterstones until the end of April. Both of those I pre-ordered in like September last year or something like that. So yeah, it's interesting to see how stats on that have changed as well. And then I wanted to talk about my kind of long-term goal, because I think it was last year myself and my friends were talking about the fact that we saw this post where you could read 1,000 books in 10 years if you read 100 books every year, and I found that really interesting because at the time I had read, I think, the 82 books in 2023, and I was making good progress last year, and so I kind of just decided to set a soft goal of trying to hit that. And so on my kind of like stats I'll kind of insert here about kind of where I am at this point, I've read 286 books out of 1,000 books. So I'm only, what's that, 14 books away from hitting my 3-year goal, because I read so many books last year. To make it kind of makes a lot of difference in terms of making up for the ones I didn't read in the first year, and meaning that I can read slightly less this year to try and hit that goal. So that is a really kind of background soft goal that I'm going to try and achieve. So it'd be interesting to see as the year goes on just how many books I have read to meet that goal as well. And yeah, that's kind of it for me for this month. I thought I would talk maybe a bit about video plans for the future, because I've been pretty consistent in posting, which was one of the goals that I had this year, to try and make at least 2 videos a month, which I have done so far and is kind of my minimum goal going forward. I am working full time, and so it is a little bit difficult to post any more frequently than that, because I have other work commitments, especially because I travel quite a bit for work as well. But coming up, new D&D class vlogs. I'm hoping to get one out in April and try and do that a little bit consistently. I think the next one is going to be the magical based one, because I am going to split that, I think, into 2 videos, just because there are so many books about magical people. I thought I would also continue to do niche things. So just as the D&D thing is a niche thing, I have a couple of other niches that have stuff that I really enjoy. As I'm not going to spoil them, but just look for very me-centric things coming up. And then I also want to try and tackle some big fantasy this year, so stuff like Malazan. I've had that on my Kindle for literally, I think, 2 years now, and it's such a big book that it is off-putting to think about starting it. So I thought that I would maybe do a series, or at least just random videos sporadically, of me trying to tackle some big name fantasy books that I have on my shelves. So that is coming at some point in the next 3 months, hopefully. I have created a little bit of a schedule of what I want to film and post, so I'm hoping that I can try and stick to that. And it is really crazy to kind of see it all written out like that, because I'm like, oh, next month I'm going to do this, and the month after that I've got this planned in, and it's like already half the year is planned out in terms of videos, and that just goes to show that time really does go fast. That is my first 3 months of 2025 on YouTube, which is kind of crazy to say. I will see you in a few days, because the new 2025 bingo board is coming, and I am excited and have been anticipating it since I turned my card in, so you will definitely see a video about that soon.